Ta-da! Oh, hey, oh. Okay, this is the Knights of Outer Ren podcast, episode, whatever, but episode 0 of Ali, Glitter Geek Ali's podcast. This is really our test, our attempt to find out, like, if she is ready for prime time, which she is. I mean,
Oh, no.
hi, Ali.
Hi, how are you?
It's been a while. Our last
It has.
podcast was, maybe it
The
was my
summer.
last podcast. It was for One to One.
Yeah,
It feels like so long ago, though.
I know.
Like it really feels like it was forever and ever ago. And and it was a great episode. It was one of my favorites, actually. I listened to it several times since. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to fix this thing on the video. People will see. I have a Deadpool bracelet that my significant other gave me on my
Mhm.
birthday, and
Mhm.
I mentioned that my Deadpool bracelet because we went to see Black Panther on my birthday, which was also your birthday.
Yes, we're
We
both February 15thers.
birthday twins, and we're the same age.
Yes.
But we're both 26 something. Oh.
It's 26.
Yeah. Okay. So, and anybody watching the video right now is like, "What? He is not your age." Yeah. I think I was your age when you were born. So,
Oh, wow.
no, I wasn't. I was 20 when you were born.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, I was. Man, I can't. I was a Republican back then. So, scary, scary times. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I often think about like people who I've known because every now and then I'll get a comment on my videos,
Mhm.
not necessarily the podcast, but
Mhm.
the videos I've made like gaming videos, and it'll
Mhm.
be people from my past
Yeah.
and who definitely knew me as like an ultra right winger and all this other
Yeah.
stuff, and I wonder like sometimes when they're watching anything else like non-military related because I used to
Mhm.
make a lot of military related gaming videos
Mhm.
and they're watching like a podcast where I'm being uber liberal, and they're just like, "Who
What?
is this guy?" Also, if they knew me in real life, they're like, "Who is this guy?" Because he used to be really overweight. So that was the other thing. But so anyway, we have not talked, and there's so much has
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
I would argue, and it's really funny because I know you. I think you still watch a lot of Collider
Yeah.
stuff. I don't anymore. I've stopped
Mhm.
watching Collider, but and I don't watch the schmoes or anything like that anymore. Not because I don't like them. I just
Mhm.
like I had to. Things happen. I ended
You
up
have,
in a.
yeah, you got to prioritize.
I ended up in a human relationship with a human
Uh-huh.
being, and
Uh-huh.
me, the guy who was going to be a bachelor forever, and and so things happen, and I just had to like remove things. I removed things from my life, and that was one of the things. But there was a lot of things that I stopped doing. But I did listen to them until right around December. So December is really when I kind of like started prioritizing, and they were talking about like how this had been one of the worst years in movies, and I'm like, this is
Yeah.
2017 was one of the best years in movies. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, and I kept every time I listen, I'm like, what are they talking about? Because this is some really good movies, and now I have to look back on 2017 as one of the better years, especially for comic book movies. I
Mhm.
mean, we had Logan,
Oh,
excellent movie.
yeah.
Even Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which yes, not as good as one, maybe the worst comic book movie outside of Justice League this year, but still I can watch it. Like the first
Mhm.
two acts I really enjoy of Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's the third act
Yeah.
where you just go, "What are you guys doing? Like
Yeah.
why are you doing this? Why are there so many jokes here, you know?" It's like the
Mhm.
opposite of the Last Jedi complaint. Like there are way too many jokes in the beginning of the
Yeah.
Last Jedi, and then you get and this one is like, oh, okay, we're going on this very darker kind of like more dramatic route, and then all of a sudden it's like jokes, 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 death,
Yeah.
and which I liked. I liked the death part at least, but too many jokes and too many goofy things happening in Guardians 2. But we got fucking Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I reviewed all those movies after I saw Homecoming, and I would
Mhm.
say right now after seeing Homecoming a few times
Mhm.
I kind of feel like I like Homecoming the most out of all the Spider-Man movies.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and it is because I grew up with with the comic books. You know,
Mhm.
Spider-Man was my favorite superhero, and I feel like it's the closest to the Spider-Man that I knew. versus the Raimi movies, which are versions of what I liked. You know, it's
Yeah.
not really Spider-Man. They're good movies though, especially the first two are really good movies. And then we got fucking Wonder Woman, of course, which we already reviewed. But we got Thor, which was
I
awesome,
loved Thor. I
awesome.
loved Thor.
And we got Justice Justice League, Justice League. That's what I said. Yeah. And I just watched it. You know, like after the hype had died down, after all the negativity had died down, after any other positivity had died down, and then I just recently watched it, and I had the opportunity to watch it again with my significant other's family, and we watched Murder on the Orient Express instead.
Yeah.
Which I didn't want to watch, but anything was going to be better than watching Justice League again. So I may have to watch it again anyway, but I just found that to be the worst. I actually think Justice League was worse than Suicide Squad.
Oh, I did too. Yeah, the thing for me about Suicide Squad was at least the Harley and Joker stuff was enjoyable for me.
Yeah. Even though some people hate the Joker stuff, but I think you and I agree that was actually more interesting.
It's a great Joker.
Yeah.
He's a great Joker. He's a perfect amalgamation of Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, and Cesar Romero.
Yeah, definitely.
And I liked that Joker. I liked this Harley Quinn. And I liked the stuff of them together. Other than that, I hated Suicide Squad. There was nothing like that in Justice League to latch on to.
Yeah, and I think like at least Suicide Squad has Will Smith, who is at least interesting. You know, you could tell he cared about the role, and I just feel like in Justice League, it's like commercials for characters, and that's all it is. And I wanted to like that movie, I really did, but then they have this side plot with a family that really doesn't pay off at all.
No.
And I don't like, and I know people are talking about Snyder's cut, and I'm like, how can there be any version of this movie that's any good? You're not going to piece together cuts somewhere and make a movie that feels like cuts not feel like more cuts.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
There was no way to fix it, I don't think. And the thing that I hated the most about it was I loved Wonder Woman so much. And I loved Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman so much that to see her in Wonder Woman and then go into Justice League, you know, they upskirted her in one scene in Justice League right at the beginning. And that bothered me so much. I was like, Patty Jenkins would have never filmed this.
No. And the Amazons, like, what were they wearing? Were those bikinis?
Yeah.
Like, what? And you know what? I don't even care. Like, I am not the type of feminist who goes, oh, you can't show skin. Like, whatever. Yeah. It's just the way it was done. It feels off. Something feels off about that movie. And every scene with them feels off. Even the badass scenes with the Amazonians feels weird. There's something not connective to it. It doesn't feel like a real world.
No, and it doesn't feel like it's a part of Justice League at all.
So I was really disappointed. I was even disappointed in Ben Affleck, who I thought was great in BVS. I thought was like, I don't want to say mailing it in because that's something that people say. I doubt that Affleck mails in anything. But I felt like he felt uncomfortable or something. I don't know what it is. Or they used the worst takes. I don't know what was happening. Everything about that movie except for Flash did not work for me, including Wonder Woman. So that's a problem. And I think that people who are saying, I know that there are DC fans who are really upset because Marvel gets all the breaks and DC doesn't. There's a reason why Marvel gets all the breaks. Because Marvel, even when they make a mistake like Thor 1 and 2, corrects their mistakes.
Yeah.
DC so far has made one good movie, and I'm not counting the original Batman movie. You know, I'm not counting those Christian Bale movies.
Yeah, no.
But in this universe, if you want to call it that, they've corrected, and they just made one good movie that was a standalone movie, and that's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So maybe for now, they should take a page out of what Marvel was doing. Go make standalone movies. Stop worrying about this connective tissue thing.
Yeah.
And
they should.
And they have great characters. They have amazing characters. The DC universe, the comic world, may be better than the Marvel. And I'm a Marvel guy, but
Yeah.
Their characters are amazing. Their superpowers are amazing,
Hmm.
and their villains are great. And yet, so far, they've only made one really good movie.
Well, at least, the test audiences or whatnot, not test audiences. I think maybe it's Warner Brothers, like their insiders or whatnot,
Yeah.
are really liking Aquaman.
Oh, really? I haven't even
Yeah.
heard anything about
Yeah.
Aquaman.
They're really liking Aquaman, which is good.
Yeah.
But the difference between Marvel and DC and Marvel films and DC films, Marvel has Kevin Feige
Yeah.
and DC has no one.
And DC has so much talent in the
Hmm.
comic world.
Yeah.
Bring one of them in to
Yeah.
run it. Just do it. Don't I know you want look, you can side them up with a film person.
Hmm.
And so that they kind of collaborate. They kind of have like a think tank. These two like leads of the company.
Hmm.
Make them do it together. That's what Marvel essentially does. And it works really well.
Yeah.
And just do that. Or even the way I know that there's going to be detractors for Lucasfilm
Hmm.
because people are irrational about these things. But the way Lucasfilm even does it, their producers are the ones that run the shows. Like
Yeah.
whatever movie you're working on, those producers are in charge. You don't. Kathleen Kennedy isn't. I know that people think that Kathleen Kennedy is standing up on her, on her totem pole, going like, "You do this, you do that." That is not what happens at Lucasfilm. She empowers her producers to make their movies,
Hmm.
and so that's what DC needs to get their hands out of whatever. Give a director a movie to make
Hmm.
and let them, bring in the writers and the producers, whatever they want to do, and make a movie. That's exactly how you should do it.
Well, see, my dream, and God love him, I hope he gets better soon. I always have wanted Kevin Smith to direct a Batman movie because there's no one that knows Batman like Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith, many years ago, was offered the chance to basically run DC's TV movie wing, and he
Hmm.
declined it. And I wish he had, because he was so scared. He was so scared he was going to fuck it up. And it's too bad we can't go back in time and go, Kevin, don't worry, you can't fuck this up.
Yeah, you
Okay?
can't.
You can't. And I wish he had, because that
Hmm.
guy is a super nerd. And yes,
Hmm.
I'm so fucking glad that I didn't wake up today to find out that Kevin Smith had died, because that
Oh,
would have
I would have
fucking.
lost it.
I mean, that guy is my adulthood. I was
Yeah.
20 years old when he made Clerks,
Hmm.
and it's like that's been like every person in New Jersey, where I'm from.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm from Iceland, but from New Jersey. I lived most of my life in New Jersey.
Hmm.
That guy, like every guy I knew had any talent, every girl who wanted to do anything was
Hmm.
so inspired by Clerks. People were making
Yeah.
films in 1994 because of Clerks, 1995, 96. Friends of mine were shooting movies because of that guy. And some of those people became really famous.
Yeah.
And it's like, and everyone exceeded Kevin. Everyone that he inspired exceeded him in many
Hmm.
respects, or at least a lot of these people that we know are famous.
Yeah.
Um, and so, his loss, if we had lost him, would have
Hmm.
been one of those things. Like, first of all, yes, he would have been elevated to martyrdom. Like, he would have
Yeah.
been massive all of a sudden. He would have been a
Yeah.
legend, which is
Yeah.
kind of what the Last Jedi is about. Here's an interesting transition, because we haven't talked about the Last Jedi, and I want to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Hmm.
The reason that I adore that movie, and mind
Hmm.
you, I came out of my first viewing. When the first viewing ended, I was like, I am so impressed by what Ryan Johnson did, because I really didn't like that movie. Like, I didn't like that movie. I
Hmm.
loved it. I knew I loved the movie, and there's a difference, right?
Hmm.
But I did not. I was like, I did not like what I just saw. Like, I had no fun at the end of that movie. I was like, oh yeah, I don't feel what I should be feeling right now. And the reason for that is on my second viewing, I started catching things that I thought were problems with the movie. And I
Hmm.
was like, why would he do that though? There's no answer for it. Like, this makes no logical sense. And then I just realized, oh, I missed this line where he
Yeah.
explains this. And then I said, okay, but fine. But what Yoda does doesn't make any sense. So I'm watching it for the third time, and my girlfriend leans over and goes, did Ray take the books? And I
Yeah.
was like, wait, what? And that was my other problem with the movie. I was like, well, it doesn't make any sense why Yoda would do this. Like, why why even set this whole thing up? Oh, because Ray took the books. And I was like, oh my God. So I walked out of that third viewing going, there is no, like, he, everything pays off,
Yeah.
even when it looks like it doesn't. That is amazing storytelling when you can even take a hardcore fan like me who wants to really notice these things. And I didn't notice them until my third viewing. And only because my girlfriend, who is not even a Star Wars fan, I mean, she is, she likes the movies, but she's not like us, you know, she's not a hardcore fan. And so that's why I've been saying I have no problem with people who say I did not like The Last Jedi, or if they say I hated it. I have no problem with you. If you went into that movie and you walked out going, "What? This is not what I wanted." Perfectly respect your opinion. It is those people who go around, you know, downvoting the movie, telling other people they're not allowed to like the movie, going after Ryan Johnson and after Mark Hamill and everybody else to say like, "Why did you do this?" Oh, there's a better cut of the movie somewhere.
Disney shill, you know.
Yeah. Oh, Colin Trevorrow had a great idea. Like this is like complete fiction. I can tell you from authority in some respects that Trevorrow was fired because he wanted a change to The Last Jedi that would have fundamentally changed the movie because Leia would have died. And and I'll tell you, if Trevorrow now. Did that conversation happen? Maybe. Is Trevorrow a complete moron if he wanted to take her final scene with Mark out of the movie? Because that's what you would have had to do. Because he wanted to kill... If it happened, he would have wanted to kill her much earlier in the movie. And then we never have her... One of their best scene... Maybe the best scene between those two characters in the entire Star Wars saga.
Yeah.
You would never have had it because they wouldn't have been there together. And so it's a terrible idea. Colin Trevorrow is not a great storyteller. He has no track record. He has one okay movie. One movie that did really well because it was a franchise movie, which I don't mind. I don't hate it like some people hate that Jurassic Park movie.
I hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I also don't have any great investment in Jurassic Park. I've never been a dinosaur person. I've never cared about these things in that way. So, so I watched that movie. I just go, okay, it's another Jurassic movie. Whatever. I don't care. I understand why people hate that one too. It's just, but he has no track record as a great storyteller. I don't know if you've seen his next movie, the movie he directed right before he was
Book of Henry.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Okay. So, and if you watch it, you will see some things. I have not watched the whole movie. I've watched pieces of it. I can see what problems some people have. I think he did something ballsy, and I think it's worth watching. But I have not finished the movie because I didn't find it that interesting.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that, and this is what happens with like the Snyder cut of Justice League or anything like that, where fans have the platonic perfection of the idea that they'll never see. So the platonic perfection of the movie they'll never see, or the idea that will never be executed, is much better than the horrible idea or that they saw.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem. That's a problem for people like that. And that's why I say, like, I have no problem if you dislike the movie. I have a problem if you have invented a problem that you now have with elements that never actually were going to be part of any other movies. The story that we got, and my favorite is the George Lucas fanboys who, love the prequels and now have to destroy everything in the sequel trilogy now.
Yeah.
This is the original screenplay, almost. I mean, there's some differences. This is what George wanted to do. So when you're
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so where's George's screenplay? It's called The Last Jedi. Go watch The Last Jedi if you're and now you're destroying, yes, there's some variances, but it was basically this. And what The Force Awakens did was they said, okay, fine, we're not going to do that because we need to introduce this thing and we need to do it in a fun way. We need to get fans back to it. And then you can do that in The Last Jedi or whatever, And so that's essentially what they did. And Ryan Johnson, it's not like he went and looked at George's screenplay and went, or treatment and went, I'm going to do that. Yeah, no, he made his own story that followed a logic. Like, I was in line for The Last Jedi and we were talking about who are Rey's parents. and this is what I said. My girlfriend can attest for this. I said this guy was going, oh, I think it's this one, that one, and I go, I don't think it's anybody. I think they're
Yeah.
nobodies. And and because just listen to what Maz says. If her parents were somebody, why would she say the people you're waiting for are never coming back? Look forward. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing in her past.
Yeah, I
There's
can get
nothing.
into it so much there.
Go ahead,
but keep
please.
going.
No. I'm just saying. Love
Yeah.
the movie. It is right now arguably my favorite Star Wars movie. I got to see it a few more times. That's why I'm going to wait for the video and all that stuff to really break down into it. But like in April or something, maybe I'll do another podcast about it. But I've seen The Force Awakens like 90 times now. I love The Force Awakens. In fact, The Force Awakens now we did a rewatch because my girlfriend had seen the originals. She's born in '78, so she kind of grew up with the movies, but not caring. So, and she was 5 years old when Jedi came out. So it wasn't like she went to the movies. So she never saw these films in the movies. So when we started dating, we just decided to watch all of them before The Last Jedi, and that's what we did. And rewatching all those movies, it changed my rankings. Like I went from Empire's always on top, and then it was like Jedi, and then The Force Awakens, and then maybe A New Hope, Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, and Attack of the Clones. And in rewatching it, I found, and we can talk about that in a little bit, like what our rankings are of these movies. But it's really changed my ranking watching them all together. So once I can watch The Last Jedi again, I want to rewatch them all again and see where The Last Jedi really ranks. Right now it's at the top because it's new. It might change. It might drop. The Force Awakens dropped actually a little bit after a few weeks. So we'll see how it goes. So go ahead. I want to hear your take on all this.
The thing, I walked out of The Last Jedi and I hated it. I mean, you know that.
Yeah, I remember. I saw your what's it called?
I put up a video of me in the car, like basically going like,
Yeah.
God, oh my God, what did I just watch?
I remember that.
Yeah, and I watched it a second time because I knew I would, and I was like, oh, that, okay, it makes sense now, and I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like it now, and I've got it as it's tied for number 2 with A New Hope.
Oh yeah, you love Now, your love for A New Hope, is it because of nostalgia or because it was the first?
I think there's something always, like my entire life, there's been something about that scene toward the beginning and Luke is staring out at the dual sunset on Tatooine that has always just really struck me. And
yeah, there's a lot of joy. There's a lot of joy in that movie in general. Yeah. Even though it's sad.
I like that one. Yeah. I really like that one. Empire's my favorite, stereotypical. But, I just thought The Last Jedi was so great. And I went in, I mean, you know how I am. I love Kylo Ren. I want to see Ben Solo redeemed. And I went in watching that movie the first time and was like, oh my God, there's no way. There's no way he can come back from this. And then I watched it a second time. I was like, hold up.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go the way he did. He had to because she was gone.
Yeah. And I really think I'm always hesitant to say something. I tend to be right. And, I know that right after I saw The Force Awakens, I was on the whole kick, like, she's going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter or whatever. But not long after that, once I got it on DVD or Blu-ray, I started saying she's nobody.
Yeah.
And I started saying, and there are a bunch of friends of mine who can, who know that I said this in private. I said, you watch, Kylo and Rey will team up in this movie, and it will not be like Empire. It will not be like, they will team up. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So, because it feels like that's the only way you can do this differently. And once you team up, I think what you're going to see and this is just speculation. I don't know anything about Episode 9. I think what you're going to see is Rey is going to be in the Luke role, the way that we saw Luke in Return of the Jedi, like, except not in the sense that she's going to be, like, wanting to turn Kylo. I think she, at this point, hates Kylo. I think she's just like, no. no, 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 you're not
Yeah.
turning. She is like the conduit for the fans who say like, no, 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 Kylo
Yeah.
can never turn. That's why Kylo is not going to turn the way that you expect him to.
No.
He is going to, though, he will not die at the end of that movie. I think you look, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but I don't think Adam Driver is going away anytime soon. I think Adam Driver is going to
No.
be around for a while,
You
and
don't get him and then just put him in 3 movies.
no, and
He's
especially
gonna
after
have an
what he,
Oscar on his shelf at some point, you know?
especially after what he's delivered, which even people who didn't like the movie are
Hmm.
saying this. This is the best villain we've ever gotten in Star Wars. Not
Yeah.
even close to any. Even Hux is great in this movie because he's a different kind
Yeah.
of villain. He's the guy that everyone looks at as like a loser,
Yeah.
and yet what he really is a survivor.
Oh yeah.
He climbs the ladder while surviving, and he is Worm Tongue. Like if you
Hmm.
want to use a Lord of the Rings reference, like he's the kind of guy who like maybe schemes on the side, maybe doesn't win. I
He's a
don't.
snake in the grass.
Yeah, and I don't want to say like Worm Tongue as in like because Worm Tongue kind of is a puppet master at some point in Two Towers, I guess.
Hmm.
But I mean like in that he is a guy who will just shift when he has to, and he'll move to the next thing.
Hmm.
And that's why he does that thing where he goes, long live the supreme leader. Like that's
Long
him
live Supreme
surviving.
Leader.
And I
Yeah.
think he's going to be amazing in the next movie because one, Kylo knows that he knows something.
Yeah.
But I think Kylo also goes, I need this guy right now. And that was the
Hmm.
lesson that Snoke imparts on him. Like you need a guy like this because they're easy to manipulate. And I think because of that line drop, I think Hux is going to be the ultimate manipulator.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I said to somebody, I'm like, watch Hux be the actual bad guy of this entire trilogy. And they're like, that's not going to happen. I'm like,
He is the
wait.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
the
like, wait.
he's the true Phantom Menace because we know that George had some other plan and then he abandoned it after the Phantom Menace didn't get uh, people didn't like it apparently.
Hmm.
And he had some plan. Some people think it's Jar Jar related. That Jar Jar was gonna end up as like the ultimate villain or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
He's a
believe
Sith
that.
now.
I don't believe that. I think that's just something people like to say on the internet. But there
Hmm.
was supposed to be some other arc in there, some deeper
Hmm.
arc, and then he abandoned it because people didn't like the movie, and I think he had more ideas with midichlorians and things like that he abandoned. And I'm somebody who has no problem with the midichlorian thing.
Really?
Because it
Okay.
doesn't mean anything. The only problem I have with it is they introduced it because it
Yeah.
otherwise doesn't mean anything.
Mhm.
Like he's basically said like the reason look, there are two reasons he introduced midichlorians, and he pays one off in Revenge of the Sith, which is
Mhm.
that Palpatine tells Anakin that he knew a guy who could manipulate the midichlorians to save life or preserve life or bring back life. And so that I think that's why he introduced it originally. He wanted to have this thing where like he was adding a nugget that he was going to pay off later. But the other reason is so that he could show that the Jedi Order was so inept at this point that they were actually measuring fucking people's blood. And
Yeah.
so the thing that people raised against is why Lucas put it in there. He knew he was playing the long game. He wanted to show that they were no longer doing things for good reasons. They were doing them for like political reasons.
Yeah.
And they became political pawns, which is, by the way, very prescient. Because we see now people are measuring midichlorians. Like, how red is your GOP meter?
Yeah.
Or, oh, I can't vote for her because she ain't blue enough. I'm going to vote for the middle one. I ain't going to vote for nobody. And the Jedi were basically doing really stupid shit like that. And it was Qui-Gon Jinn, the greatest Jedi ever, who was like, guys, we should be more like peaceniks. We should be like chill more. And they were
There's a
like,
middle ground.
yeah. And they were like, bro, step off. You don't know what you're talking about. We're much smarter than you, all right? We're fantastic. We're great. We're huge. And Qui-Gon was like, guys, I kind of feel like you guys are screwing this up. And so that was the point. And yes, The prequels are badly executed. The midichlorian thing introduced in a strange way that made people confused, just like the ending of Lost confuses people, even though there's a line at the end of Lost that says exactly what it isn't, and yet that's the exact thing that people say Lost is.
Everyone died eventually.
Yeah, the ending is everyone died eventually, not at the beginning of the show. Like they weren't dead the whole time. Spoiler. But you have to now say it, because otherwise people go in there and they go, well, I know they died. Everyone died, or they were dead the whole time. It's like, no, stop it. And it's the same thing with midichlorians. Is once people latched onto what midichlorians were, they thought they were like, oh, it's an infection. And then they were like, oh, no, it's not an infection. It's how the Jedi measure who's going to be trained. Well, I ask you one question. I've said this before in other podcasts. Who was the one person that we've seen the Jedi refuse to train? Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, the guy with the highest midichlorian count. So doesn't that disprove the entire complaint? That disproves every single complaint about midichlorians, is that they were using it to measure. So you only as somebody with a high midichlorian count can possibly be trained. Except the only time we see somebody rejected by the Jedi is the guy with the highest midichlorian count. That diffuses your entire argument, not yours, everyone else's. So we got off track. So The Last Jedi, we get in there. First of all, it's a Rian Johnson movie. I mean, it looks exactly like a Rian Johnson movie. It's paced like a Rian Johnson movie. It has dialogue like a Rian Johnson movie. And I dislike the same parts I seem to dislike in every Rian Johnson movie, which is kind of like the humor. There's something about Rian. He has a weird sense of humor. It's like a 50s era humor, which I guess works for Flash Gordon.
A little bit more slapstick.
Yeah, and like the opening, look, there's two scenes in that movie I dislike. And it's the opening Poe's joke to Hux doesn't work for me. I've tried. You know what? The third time I watched it, I was like, I'm going to make myself like this. Nope, doesn't work. And Rose's last line to Finn is so hokey. It doesn't, I don't know where it belongs, but it didn't feel like Star Wars to me.
No, it could have been delivered better. I think if that line had been given to Leia, it would have had a lot more.
I don't know. How do you deliver that line better? Like, that's so George Lucas. I bet you Lucas wrote that line. Because it's so, like, it's like, you're breaking my heart, Anakin.
Oh, yeah.
You're breaking my heart, Anakin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how it felt. It felt like that.
Although, that was the thing I appreciated too about The Last Jedi. I'm not huge on the prequels. I appreciate them for what they are. But I felt like there was a lot of The Last Jedi that was part of the prequels told in reverse.
No, it is. 100%. I agree with you on that. It feels like he went... Actually, it feels like JJ did the same thing. I mean, The Force Awakens feels a little bit like they were telling Anakin's story in reverse. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's basically Kylo is Anakin, and they're telling his story from reverse, which is why he's going to be redeemed. Well, maybe not redeemed exactly, but he's going to end up in a place where I think we're going the Bendu route. Like, I think that's where we're going to end up. And because everyone kind of expects, like, oh, Rey's going to, and I think Rey is going to have a very traditional hero route. I think she's going to restart the Jedi Order in some shape. We're going to find out more in episode 9 about the things that she reads, and it's going to be really interesting. I think episode 9 could be like the most fun Star Wars movie because of all the stuff that's being set up. But that's
want it to be dark. I want it to be so dark.
I don't think it's going to be dark. I mean, there's going to be darkness in it, no doubt about it. It's going to be like really dark stuff, but I think it's going to be more adventurous. And I think, look, there's something that has to happen in episode 9 that I actually thought was going to happen in this episode, but then I've heard Rian Johnson's explanation for it. It makes perfect sense why he didn't do it. And that is for Obi-Wan, maybe even Qui-Gon, Yoda, all to materialize in our plane the way Yoda did and fight. And I think that now, he has said that the reason it didn't happen is because Luke never met the Obi-Wan that Ewan McGregor would have played. So Ewan McGregor would have, he's like, look, I would have loved to have had Ewan, but he never met him. So that's why it would actually be perfect for Rey to meet him, because she never knew any version of him. So I think Ewan McGregor will come back for episode 9 to materialize as a younger
Samuel L. Jackson.
And well, I don't know if he didn't learn the Living Force stuff, so he can't be a Force ghost as far as we know. Also, George has said that he's still alive. That Mace Windu is still alive, or he survived. So I mean, we know that he may have said it as a joke, but so Mace Windu could still be alive. So that would be really interesting. You know, they could. Here's the thing about those side stories too. Like they're doing fucking Rogue One, which I liked, but you know, well, I don't like dream about Rogue One ever. Han Solo, probably going to be a fun movie, a good movie. It's also going to be very. I don't know how much is out. I haven't really been paying a lot of attention. I don't know if people are talking about the Rogue One-ness of Solo yet, but expect Solo to have a very Rogue One feel.
It looks like it's filmed very like in a similar way.
Yeah, but it's gonna be very fun, and I think you're gonna get into a very dark area towards the end. It's gonna be there's a reason why he's called Han Solo, and I think you're gonna find that out in this movie, and yeah, and I think they've said as much. I think they, people have been talking about this whole. What was somebody said something about this is how Han Solo gets his name?
Yeah, Bob Iger.
Yeah, and okay, so Bob Iger said that, and people were like, "Wait, what does that mean? He wasn't called Han Solo?" Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think that's going to be accurate. I think his name isn't Han Solo. I think
maybe Han's his name, but Solo's not.
No, I think his name. Maybe they just call him Han all the time, and then at the end of the movie. Somebody says to him, what's your name, kid? And he goes, Han Solo.
Solo.
And that's how it's going to end. I think that's the last shot of the movie. But, I think that movie's going to be interesting, but I doubt I'll ever fucking be like, God, I really need to have a Han Solo rewatch. Whatever. I don't think it's that important. So I'm all for those types of movies. So we could get a Mace Windu movie. We could get a Qui-Gon Jinn movie. They're going to make so many fucking movies.
Yeah.
That, like, people who are going like, no, don't waste your time with that. Who gives a shit? Fucking let them make 20, like Marvel. Make 20 of these movies. And then if you don't like one, that's fine. There's another one
You don't
coming.
have to watch it.
Yeah. Like, if you don't like The Last Jedi, you're about to get Han Solo. And you'll probably like... in fact, I will bet... I'm going to say right now, I will bet hard cash monies that I don't even have. I will bet hard cash monies that the people who really dislike The Last Jedi are going to love the fuck out of Han Solo.
Well, it's Lawrence Kasdan.
They're going to love the they're going to be like, oh, wow. And they're going to be really surprised by how much Kasdan put in The Force Awakens that ends up in Han Solo.
Yeah.
And so I think people will be like, oh, shit, that's why he does this thing in The Force Awakens. Because, oh, my God, he calls back to it. Of course, because he was writing the Solo script when they called him up to fucking write The Force Awakens. He knew what he was setting up.
Yeah.
So I think those things are going to be fun. I think people are going to love it. They're going to be like, oh, this is what The Last Jedi should have been. No, The Last Jedi should have been exactly what it is. And the reason for that is because... did you see the thing? You saw the interview on Collider, right, with Frosty and Ryan Johnson?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That is one of the best interviews. I mean, Frosty is great, man. I fucking love Frosty. He runs Collider website, but I don't know if he runs Collider Video. I don't know who actually.
He doesn't. But I love it when he's on Movie Talk. I love it when he's on Movie Talk. Yeah.
He understands filmmaking. Probably better than any of the people at EW. And I respect the EW people. I'm just saying, like, he understands filmmaking and the way that, like, filmmakers, like, he should be a filmmaker. That's what he should be doing.
Maybe that's part of his plans.
He understands the process so well. He asks the best questions. And he's like the Howard Stern of filmmaking questions, like how Howard Stern always gets things out of people. He gets things out of people. And so they were talking, and... Ryan was saying, like, hey, first of all, or not first of all, he said, everyone's been saying how The Last Jedi, and once he said this, and I've been saying what he basically shoots down in this interview. I was saying, like, oh, this was Ryan Johnson's attempt at saying, like, hey, the Skywalkers aren't that important, and that it's everyone can be the hero. And he says in that interview, that is not what I was saying. That is maybe what the result is, but I wasn't trying to say that. I'm actually saying the opposite. He doesn't say it this way. I'm paraphrasing. That Luke Skywalker has never been more important than at the end of this movie. That at the end of this movie, the legend is far greater than the man ever was. That he never had as much power or as much ability to inspire people as he does now because he appears as a fucking phantom. Okay? If he had actually appeared, he would have died and there would be no legend. Okay? And the First Order would have won and then everyone would have been wiped out. But because what he does, the fact that he astral projects himself, is actually what causes the legendary story to then get passed around all around the galaxy and inspire all these people. So that when you get to episode 9, you're going to basically have you're going to have the spark has been lit and you're going to see all the, like, the way Empire Strikes Back starts, you know, you have like the rebellion's on the run. I think in episode 9, you're going to have the rebellion is reconstituted and they are inspired. You're going to see like the best version of the rebellion you've ever seen, better than Return of the Jedi or anything like that. You're going to have this like Rogue One, end of Rogue One type stuff you're going to have in episode 9, at the beginning of episode 9, and then I'm sure something will happen to like knock him down a little bit. But also, you have a Rey who was trained now, even for 2 seconds. She was trained by the legend Luke Skywalker. And everyone's going to be like, what? You knew Luke Skywalker, the legend?
Well, this goes back into the novelization that's getting ready to come out.
Okay.
So apparently it's been revealed in the novelization that Rey, their force bond that they have, like Bastila and Revan, how long have I been saying that?
Right.
The force bond that they have, she is able to pull his training and use it for herself, and he can see into her past.
Oh, Kylo, that's right. So that's how she was able, in The Force Awakens, it kind of explains that whole thing too. And we always suspected that, actually.
Yeah.
I think we always suspected that it was kind of like, I just realized that the on the Skype call, like, it's coming up, hold on. Oh, it's fine though. It's just, don't worry about it. I don't know why I brought it up. So, yeah, so we always suspected that what she was doing was the way the Force works for her is she is an empath. And so she basically takes his powers and uses them, because after he uses his mind thing on her, she's able to use the mind thing against him and against the stormtrooper. When she's fighting him and he mentions the Force, she taps back into a fighting style that doesn't look anything like the one she was using before.
He uses it. It's that Force bond.
And so that explains a lot, and their force bond. But I also feel, I know a lot of people have argued with me about this. I said this from the first time I saw the movie. I think that she cuts off the force bond between them. At the end of the movie, when the door closes, I think that's her closing off their force bond forever.
I don't think it's forever. And the reason that I don't think it's forever is I know, just from a storytelling perspective, how interesting that would be. Like, I totally agree she's cut it off, but I don't think she's severed it.
So you think that, like, some point in episode 9, she's going to turn it back on? Maybe because she has to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it be interesting?
Like your mother died. Like.
Okay, that could be interesting. I actually don't think they're going down that route. I know everyone expects them to cover Leia's death or whatever. Pretty confident that is not going to happen.
I hope they recast, but I know they won't.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think you're going to see Leia. I think Leia's still going to be alive. She's just not going to be there. And I think they'll do that for the whole movie. I think the whole movie they'll just be like, yeah, we just got orders from General Leia and blah, 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 with General Organa. And they're like, yeah, General Organa just gave me direct orders to blah, 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 blah. And she's somewhere else, like putting the rebellion, or the new Republic, the new Republic back together or something like that. That's how they'll play it, because I think Lucasfilm has huge plans for Leia. And I don't think they want it to end. And I think they feel like there's no way we're going to stop now. Like, we had all these plans for Leia as a character for, well into 2020. We're going with it. We're not killing her off that way. If we're going to kill her off, we're going to kill her off in a recasting later, which means we could get a Leia movie down the line, which I don't see why we couldn't. Or like
I think we will at some point.
Yeah, with a recasting. I think it will happen. I just don't think in the saga movies we'll get a recasting. I completely agree. I think she should be recast for episode 9, and they should just do what they had planned, and maybe that's what Colin Trevorrow had a problem with. Maybe he was like, well, either kill her off in this movie or let me recast her, and I would agree with that. I think that was a better idea. The idea, though, just to sidetrack, that Colin Trevorrow was going to keep Luke alive. Colin Trevorrow had no say in that. So the idea that now people are spreading around that Trevorrow was fired because he put his foot down and was like, Luke should not die, is ridiculous. He may not have wanted Luke to die, but he had no say, and he'd be the biggest piece of shit in Hollywood if, as a director, he told another director what to do. That does not happen. That does not happen. And anyone who is spreading that around, and I've heard that there was a guy who came on to Collider and spread that around from a different channel, is saying that happened. You're a lying piece of shit. That never fucking happened. I don't know what this guy is talking about. Trevorrow is not psychotic. Like, that would ruin him if he started dictating terms to a director that's not even on the movie he's on. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So that's not how, like, people believe in these weird conspiracy theories about the way Hollywood works. Hollywood is very conservative when it comes to, like, filmmaking. And they have very specific ways they do everything. And one director working on one movie is not going to fucking dictate anything to another director. That's why Rian Johnson didn't dictate anything to JJ. He asked him for a thing. He goes, hey,
can you replace BB-8 with R2-D2?
And that's why when people were talking about that, and they were like, because this is so smart. This is such a smart move because, R2 is going to do this and that. And I was going like, it's probably because there's like one scene that he has in mind, because he would never fundamentally change an idea that JJ had. So BB-8 wasn't going to be that important. So R2 can't be that important. Like, there's no way that he was going to, or when people say like, JJ had an idea, he was going to make Rey Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter or whatever like that. And I know that there's been rumors about that because JJ apparently told Daisy Ridley who her parents were. And he's always said that whatever he told her was just for her in the moment to have something as a character to hold on to, that it wasn't set in stone. It was just an idea he had. Just like he had many ideas that didn't end up playing out. And, like there was an idea that Luke would be in earlier in the movie. That was an idea they had. He wasn't. Luke was much more involved in the original idea that they had. And then they changed that. Things get changed in filmmaking and all storytelling. No one has like an outline that they just marry themselves to unless they're crazy, because you always find a better way of telling it. So Trevorrow was just asking, maybe saying like, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? But if Trevorrow was saying recast, I'm with him on that. But otherwise, goodbye. I'd rather have fucking J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, no, me too. Well, and I'm happy with J.J. Abrams because J.J. Abrams is the one that started my ship that I push.
Oh, yeah, the Raylo.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, you get it.
Have you moved the bar on that, though? Have you been like, okay, they're not going to be romantic?
No, I still think so.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't think, I'm not sure, but I still feel like that. And the reason that I say that is I thought that the throne room scene at the end was very much like Anakin and Padme. And I think that this is Anakin and Padme told in reverse.
Yeah, I completely disagree with that. I can see why you think that. I just think that I think Rey actually like hates him. Like
I think she does right now too.
But I don't think they're ever, I don't think in 2019 they're going to be making a movie where the
you're not going to see them be romantic in 9. You're not going to see it.
I don't see that.
I think it will happen, but I don't think you're really going to see it in 9. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, if they make more, but I think the problem with that storytelling is that it ties JJ up to do something he doesn't do with his female characters in romantic relationships anymore, I guess, if you want to call it that. There's an element to that in Alias, and I don't think, and even in Fringe on some level, I don't think he wants to repeat that. That's why I think he won't. But could it be that Kylo is maybe in love with Rey?
They pretty much say that in the novelization.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, because they're getting out of the elevator and she's like, I guess she's thinking something, and she realizes that the feelings that he is thinking about are not about himself but about her.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh, hot damn, like what's going on?"
I'd have to read the novel now to.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna have to read the novel anyway.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I can see that, and I can see that in the next movie. What I think may happen is that Kylo feels a passion for her, maybe a
Mhm.
love, maybe a platonic love, that she will never reciprocate,
Mhm.
and so he may make some choices that. Did you ever watch the show Chuck?
No.
Okay, so I'm watching Chuck with Nikki, and we're in season 4, and there's this
Mhm.
character called Volkov, and he has this like double agent with him who he falls in love with, but they never have sex. They never do anything.
Mhm.
But he like almost sabotages himself because he's so in love with her, even though he
Mhm.
kind of knows she's never gonna reciprocate.
Mhm.
I wonder if that's the kind of like path they might take with Kylo, where
Mhm.
he will, at the point where he should kill her, he won't be able to.
No, he can't kill her.
So I think that, but then she might take her opportunity and be like, she might kill him. Now I don't think so,
No.
but she could wound him badly or arrest him, whatever she does, which is more likely, I think, if she's reconstituting the Jedi Order
Mhm.
or remaking, or not remaking, but making her own version of the Jedi Order. She
Mhm.
might decide that killing her enemy is not something. So maybe he's imprisoned at the end
I
of the
think
movie.
they'll exile him. I think the end of the movie, he's in exile on some planet, but it's not like he's completely
Oh,
alone.
in the
That makes any
outer,
sense.
in the unexplored areas of the
Mhm.
galaxy, maybe, and then he finds like where Snoke came from, and that'll be interesting. They could make a movie with him. That would be
But
interesting.
how do they carry on the Skywalkers if there's no Skywalker?
Well, I
I
okay. Go ahead. Give me your how you think they're gonna do that.
so I like I watch Jedi Council devoutly, and they finally kind of latched onto the idea like I can see Raylo happening. I think this is interesting. I think this is the route it might go, and they're gonna I don't know if they're gonna call it 10, 11, or 12 or not, but they're gonna make more movies with Ray and Kylo. There's no doubt in my mind. They're
Right.
gonna make more movies with those characters. And imagine, so there's always gonna be someone out there to take Snoke's place, to take the Emperor's place. It's always gonna happen. If Ray and Kylo had children, imagine the force potential of those children.
Right.
Imagine the force potential and how many people would be chasing them,
Yeah, but I mean, then
trying to
you.
get those kids.
I like the idea of that. I think that, but
They'd be really good at sports.
what if though
Hmm.
the Skywalker storyline is important because the Skywalkers create Rey, and I don't mean like their bloodline creates Rey.
Yeah.
Their fighting and their mistakes
Hmm.
force the Force
Hmm.
to basically like manufacture Rey. Like not that she's
Yeah.
a Force birth, but that, and she could be. But
I hope not.
they might do it because if they want to reverse the prequels and do it like end on that instead of starting
Yeah.
with it, I could
Hmm.
see them do it. And I wouldn't give a shit one way or the other. As long as they do it well, I don't care. As long as they execute it well, as long as it's better executed than the prequels, I
Hmm.
don't care. Do it.
I
Um,
just think there's something about the Skywalker line that's too important to kill off. And I mean, any children that Rey
mm,
and Kylo had would not have the last name Skywalker, but it would always be attached
but
to them.
if Kylo lives, which is I think
Hmm.
they do have to kind of do that.
Hmm.
If Kylo lives and he doesn't have babies with Rey, then there's always the potential that he escapes from prison because he would have people so loyal to him. He would
Hmm.
have like because right now the spark won't just create future Jedi. The
Hmm.
spark will create future dark side users.
Oh yeah,
And so you have to imagine that we're going to basically have a Hogwarts issue, like at the end of book,
Slytherin
five.
versus
You're
Gryffindor.
going to have something like that. And
Hmm.
wouldn't it be interesting if I've wanted for the longest time, since 2002, I've wanted them to do a Jedi Academy movie
Hmm.
where you would have like almost like X-Men, but like what if the good and the bad guys are training in the, or like the dark and the light side
Hmm.
user are training in the same academy.
Hmm.
It would almost be like, Harry Potter in a sense.
Hmm.
And I think it would be really interesting if you
Hmm.
start with young people and you go through their years, and you just call it, Star Wars Jedi Academy, or call it the Jedi Academy,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. I think that would be really interesting. I've actually wanted X-Men to do that. Like I feel like every time they reboot these movies, they kind of miss what was working in
Hmm.
X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class is actually my favorite X-Men movie because they're doing this thing where they're starting this thing up, and then they kind of like go, okay, now let's go focus back on adults, and
Yeah.
and you're like, but can we just why can't we follow them through their training? Because we see a little bit of training in Attack of the Clones of younglings, of
Hmm.
kids, but I wanted to see much more of that. And I know that there are adults who go, I don't want to watch kids. Then don't go to that movie.
Don't watch it.
Go to another movie.
No.
You guys have no idea how many ideas are in the Lucasfilm bank right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous. And remember, they have 50 scripts for a TV show already written by
Hmm.
Ronald D. Moore and his crew. Okay, the guy who made Battlestar
Well, and
Galactica.
I keep thinking, how many people have written ideas for stories for Star Wars? And the thing is, some of the people that have written those stories, treatments for them, might could push them in the right direction
Yeah, and we
to where it
know.
would get on someone's desk. I'm not saying it will ever happen, but I wrote a Sith origin treatment that I actually love. Like, I'm
Well,
impressed with
well,
it.
did you send it to your agent or
I
anything
don't
like
have
that?
an agent.
No. Well, you need to get one. You need to get an agent. You need to move to Hollywood, and you need to pitch that. All right.
Well, I'm going to
I'm
grad
looking for
school.
an agent right now. By the way, if any literary agents are looking, I've just hit me up. I'll send you my novel. I'm finished with it finally. My novel, Branded by Fire and Ice, coming out whenever, but it's finished. And am I allowed to show? Hold on. You go talk because I'm gonna see if I can find an image right
Okay.
now to show the people of the cover for my novel. If
Okay.
it ever, hold on, where is it? Hold
Well,
on. You won't be able to see it, unfortunately.
yeah.
But oh my God, it's huge. Hold on, I forgot this thing is like 900 by nope, that's not what I wanted to do. It's 900 by. Oh my God, it's so big. How do I make it smaller? Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh my God, guys, I've screwed up. All right, you know what? All right. Here we go. All right, it's somewhere in there. I don't know what
Well,
just happened. I just screwed up the whole fucking thing. You know what? Never mind. No one, no one look at what I just did.
I mean, I've applied to grad school, and I really hope I get in for journalism. And I've already, like, I was telling some friends, and I told my parents, I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm going to Celebration 2019, and instead of this time being like, I'm on YouTube, being like, here's my resume, I'm very well trained.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Journalism school.
Hmm.
That's important. But we need real journalists, though. Yeah. Not
I,
more
I,
entertainment journalists.
well, but I want to eventually study the politics in blockbuster film.
As long as you don't go and work for Scream Rant, I'll be fine. Okay,
No,
as long
no.
as you never go, I mean, if you go work for Frosty at Collider, great.
I
If
want to write. I want to write, but I wouldn't mind being on camera. I think that the dream job would be like Anthony Bresnikan.
Oh, yeah, EW would be everyone's dream
Hmm.
job. I mean, except for apparently people at Collider who hate EW for some strange reason. I have no fuck.
Really?
I
I've
don't.
never heard that.
No, they complained about EW all the time. They go like, "Oh, their covers are garbage." By the way, maybe that's true. But or the way that your boy, what's his name? What's the name of the Jedi Council heads?
Christian Harloff.
Christian Harloff. Thank you. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? Christian Harloff is like used to not be remember. Couldn't remember Bresnikan's name. He would like
Hmm.
I don't know, something happened between them. I don't know what happened. But he go, what's his name? Anthony and I'm like, come on, bro, come on.
Well,
I'm from your area, bro. You know how to pronounce Bresnikan, okay? You don't live in New York and not know how to pronounce weird names, all right, bro?
well, and the other thing too, I have to have an internship after grad school to actually graduate.
Oh,
And I am like pipe dreaming. Hey, Lucasfilm. Internship. I have a graduate degree. I'm better than an undergrad.
You can get into Lucasfilm. I mean, it's not as difficult as people think, but you may have to start, right
Oh,
at the
yeah.
bottom.
But I know my shit.
They are always looking for people. Look, there's a lot of people who work at that company right now who were like, I'm never gonna get this, and now they
Mhm.
are like, they're like at the top of the heap right now.
Yeah.
So look at Pablo Hidalgo.
Yeah.
Pablo started on Lucas Online. That's all he
Mhm.
was doing. He was working for Lucas Online, writing articles,
Mhm.
and just like, and then somebody just realized like, holy shit, this guy knows everything.
Yeah.
Why don't we just ask him questions? And then eventually, like the executives were like, wait, who were you talking to? And they were like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Pablo.
we talked to Pablo, and they were like, who's Pablo?
Yeah.
Pablo who? And then when I think it was Revenge of the Sith came out, they were doing like some online stuff. Like they
Mhm.
had a webcam up while they were
Mhm.
shooting the movie, and Pablo was setting a lot of that stuff up. So Pablo just became like the tech guy that everybody knew, and
Mhm.
now Pablo is like one
A
of the,
god.
well, he's more of a god to fans. At
Mhm.
Lucasfilm, there's lots of people there's lots of Pablos at
Yeah, that know
Lucasfilm.
all that stuff, but
Yeah,
he's like the face of it.
because he's been around for 20 something years, so everyone
Mhm.
knows him.
Yeah.
You just don't know the other people who have more power than Pablo does.
Mhm.
They just don't come out online and go, "Hey, by the way, hi, this you got that wrong. You did that."
Yeah.
So Pablo is just he's more engaged and he's
Yeah.
great. I love. I've watched his interview with what's her name, Andy on
Andy
StarWars.com.
Gutierrez.
I've watched his interview with her like 200 times.
I saw her at Star Wars Celebration, and
Mm,
I had lost my uncle, and I had lost my dad, and I
mm,
was yelling, "Dad, Dad!" And she was in the same room,
yeah.
and she starts going, "Dad!" And I was like, "Thanks, Andy."
She's sweet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like what was I saying? Oh yeah, and that like that guy is so wicked smart, and he has so many great ideas, and
Hmm.
he gets so much heat for like mocking people's stupidity,
Oh
which I
yeah,
think we should do more of
I
sometimes
would too.
online. Yeah,
I would too.
I do it already, and I'm nobody. And I've often said like the danger for me is it will never happen, but the danger for me is if my book sells and then becomes popular, like I will be
It
the
could.
worst. I will be the worst to my fans because if they ask me stupid shit, if they go, "Hey, so and so is gonna end up together," I'm like, dude, I'm not writing that kind of story. What do you mean so and so? There's no fucking no one's ending up together. Everyone's gonna die at the end. All right. I was gonna title my book at one point. Everyone
Everyone's gonna
dies at the.
die.
I was gonna title it, Everyone's gonna die at the end. But there was gonna be a foreword, which is like
Mhm.
basically like if you're coming into this book to read about like happily ever after, stop reading
Don't.
right now because there's no happily ever after. And I only wrote it because after I watched Game of Thrones season 1, I was like, oh, you can do this. Oh, you can just kill people? Great, because I've had that idea for years. I want to kill
Yeah.
people. Why are we always writing about happy endings? That's why I
Mhm.
love The Last Jedi,
Mhm.
because it's not about there's no happy ending.
It's
There's like
about
a
failure.
yeah, it's like thank God we didn't die. Like that's
Yeah.
really what it ends up as, but it's also this great thing, the spark that lights the fire. That is so fucking important. And the
Mhm.
fact that people are so short-sighted about that, like you should get excited. Even if you hated The Last Jedi, get
Mhm.
excited cuz JJ is fucking like what Ryan Johnson left him is a
Mhm.
gold mine of fucking thing possibilities. He can
Mhm.
do virtually anything. He could bring fucking kids into it who are going to be Jedi. He could bring adults in who've been Force
Yeah.
users all this time
Yeah.
and and now are part of the fight. He could
If
be
I don't see the Knights of Ren, though, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like
I
I need to see them. I need to meet them.
I'm going to make a 100% guarantee. Knights of
Mhm.
Ren will not only be in the movie, they will
Mhm.
be major secondary characters in the
Mhm. I
movie.
hope.
Oh, listen. We know that JJ, when he thought he was not going to make another Star Wars movie, was
Mhm.
talking about a Knights of Ren movie.
Mhm.
So if you think he's not bringing the Knights of Ren in,
Mhm.
like, abandon that. Let me tell you two things that will 100% be in the movie, guaranteed. much bigger roles than even maybe most people imagine. It's going to be the Knights of Ren and Maz Kanata. Fucking
I hope.
huge.
I like Maz.
Maz is going to be a huge character. She has to be. She's kind of like the Lando character in the movie. Like, I know some people are saying like DJ is that.
No.
I don't think. I think DJ
We're
is
not
going
going
to
to
be.
see him again.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I think we're going to see DJ again.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because that was the whole. Okay, so I'm trying to avoid getting too much into this movie because I want to talk about it once I've been able to watch it like 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that DJ was a setup, and I think it's a clear setup once you watch for this, is when he says to him like, yeah, this time you guys blow each other up, next time they blow you up, whatever. And then he
There
says,
is no good guy. There
and then
is no
he says,
bad guy.
you're wrong. And he goes, we'll see. That's so fucking, that's a perfect setup for the future. I think DJ's coming back. I think DJ's going to save the day at some point. And he's maybe
That
going
would
to
be
admit that he was wrong. Like he's going to be like, you know what? I was wrong. And that is another spark that lights his fire. Is that his realization that he's been wrong this whole time. That he needed to choose a side. If there was ever a guy, he is more like Han Solo. A guy who needs to choose a side because he doesn't want to choose it.